Come on, Sissy. Come on, Sissy. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Load up, Sissy. Load up, Sissy. Good girl. Bubby, what you doing? You need help? Are you too fat to get in by yourself?
In today's video, we're discussing building your ultimate 72-hour bag, which could also double as your emergency preparedness kit in your vehicle, your go bag, your get home bag, whatever you want to call it. One of the things to consider is that unless you're single and you have no kids that live at home, when you build one of these bags, it's not only for yourself, it's probably for your family as well, including your fur babies. When you're building a go bag, you essentially have three different ways you can go about doing it. You can do a DIY, do it yourself, build the whole thing from scratch. You can buy a prefab kit like this one, or you can combine the two and you can buy a kit like this and then have a DIY component of customizing it. Each of them have their pros and cons. For a DIY bag, on the upside, you get a completely customized bag to your liking. On the downside, you're going to spend a lot of time, most likely, researching different components. You may get some of those components in, decide that they didn't live up to their billing, so you end up replacing them. So it essentially becomes more of a process than an event. Or you could go with a prefab kit like this. The upside to that is that you've got an endorsement from a company saying, this is a great package for your 72-hour bag. On the downside, there's no customization to it, and it's probably going to cost you a little bit more than piecemealing it together because the company has to make a profit. The DIY plus prefab is the third option, and personally, if budget's not an issue, that's the best choice. You can kind of stand on the shoulders of giants. You can take something like this kit, the U-PAK from Instinct Ready, and remove the stuff that you may not want, replace it with the stuff that you do want, and you kind of end up with the best of both worlds. Of the three choices we've mentioned to build a 72-hour bag, there's no clear winner, no clear loser. It really boils down to a personal decision based on how much time you have at your disposal and what your budget looks like. At the end of the day, we know the vast majority of people have next to nothing from a preparedness perspective. So having a go bag of pretty much any type puts you on a level that's much higher than the average person, as far as emergency preparedness, that is. By far and away, the biggest consideration when you're putting together a 72-hour bag is how much does it weigh, especially relative to your body weight and your conditioning level. If somebody's in tip-top shape, they'll have no problems carrying a bag that's 20-25% of their body weight all day long. If, however, on the other hand, somebody's not in top condition, then you have to start dropping stuff out of the bag and get the weight down. We're not going to preach to you all that you need to exercise and eat healthy, but it's a pretty safe assumption that the vast majority of preppers are going to die during SHTF or shortly after SHTF because of their lack of physical fitness. The way we got motivated at Team SD is that we came up with an internal competition, and y'all have probably seen some of the snippets of it. So it's a combination of the Mantis dry fire training system, which measures all sorts of shooting variables and accuracy, combined with doing some circuit training against a stopwatch. And the results have been pretty comical. Some of us are in our mid-50s, and you'd think we were going on 15 years old the way we compete against each other. So at the end of the day, fitness, that's a personal choice. And if you're looking for some motivation, then if you can introduce some element of competition, that's usually a way to make it fun. We got everything emptied out of the U-PAK and wanted to show you what this bag is like. So we've got a bunch of MOLLE on the front, which is always cool, always welcome. All kinds of interior storage options and pockets and whatnot. Another bag here. There's a ton of separation inside this bag. We've got more in the top. We've got some mesh pockets inside. We've got an extra large storage space here. We've got another bag inside of it here. In the back of the pack, we have a 2-liter water bladder so that we can stay hydrated while we're on the trail. Overall, just as far as the bag itself is concerned, this is a really high construction quality. The first component of the U-PAK that we're going to take a look at is the first aid kit. And overall, the U-PAK is pretty high quality, but the first aid kit is pretty underwhelming. Doesn't have a ton of stuff in it, isn't what I would say is the highest quality. So myself, I would take this first aid kit, put it on the shelf, and put a higher quality FAK in place instead of what came with the U-PAK. The next piece of the U-PAK we're going to look at is called the health and hygiene component, and it's actually pretty well thought out. I had no idea what this box was until my wife said that it was a feminine hygiene product. So clearly the guys over at Instinct Ready are thinking of our female counterparts. There is a sports mask in here, which is an N95 sports mask. So this could be used, you know, for multiple purposes. If you've tuned in to any of our recent episodes of Survival Dispatch News, you've probably heard Mike Sterling suggest that the best thing you can do is kind of blend in. So if you were in a peaceful protest, for example, and everybody's wearing black, this black mask could help you look just like the antagonist and help you blend in and make your way through the crowd. There's a small roll of toilet paper included. We've got a Mylar blanket, kind of standard requirement. We've got a package of wet wipes and even a deck of cards, you know, to stay occupied on the trail with your whoever's accompanying you. And then we've got this next little pack that came inside, which is pretty well thought out. It's got a small needle and thread kit for repairs. It's got toothpaste, it's got soap, it's got shampoo, it's got a washcloth, it's got a razor, it's got a comb. So nice little package here to look after your hygiene, which, as anybody knows, if you spent any extended period of time on the trail and you start to smell like a goat after a few days, kind of nice to have this stuff at your disposal. The next component of the U-PAK is what they call the hydration pack. So comes with a nice water bottle, comes with a whole bunch of, you know, drinking water packets, which are super handy. These break down and store really nicely inside of bags. We've got a Sawyer filter here, so top of the line stuff. We also have a Sawyer filter here as well. So overall, we've got the bladder built into the back of the bag. We've got a bottle, we've got bags of water, and we've got a couple different ways of filtering water. Well thought out and high quality pieces. So one of the thoughtful little add-ons from Instinct Ready is this container here that's labeled, you know, for a spare set of clothing. So, you know, t-shirt, whatever the case may be. Extra socks, of course. Always got to have extra socks in your go bag. But it's nice that it's labeled. So one of the problems that I have with some bags is I dig into them and everything's black and I can't tell what's what. End up emptying the whole dang thing just to find, you know, one piece. Having stuff labeled like this, very thoughtful on the part of Instinct Ready. So kudos to Instinct Ready for this piece. With regards to shelter, the U-PAK includes a 2-person dome tent, which is pretty light, doesn't weigh much at all. It does take up some space, but I'm impressed with how light it is. And Nature Hike makes some really nice stuff. They've included a Nature Hike sleeping bag as well. So overall, when you consider that this bag weighs 24 pounds before you put water in it, closer to 30 pounds by the time you have a half decent amount of water in it, the fact that they were able to pack in a tent and a sleeping bag is pretty cool with all kinds of extra room left over. The next subcomponent of the U-PAK that we're having to look at is the tools and communication stuff. So first off, there's this box of waterproof matches that's super flimsy, kept falling apart. I've picked the matches up out of this box probably too many times. But the cool thing is this whistle and compass has a waterproof component to it, and I would stuffed all the matches in there. So I'm assuming that that's what they were thinking when they planned this at Instinct Ready. So that being said, as most of you know, these little tiny compasses typically don't work very well, and neither does this one. Memory serves me right, it's really, you know, the Japanese excel at making these tiny little bubble compasses, but anywhere else they're not great quality. However, the good news is that the guys at Instinct Ready included this liquid filled compass, which I've already tested and verified that it's completely accurate. It's got a ruler on either side. It's got a magnifier like a Fresnel lens for setting fires. Got an emergency mirror so that you can signal somebody. So pretty cool little addition there. Paracord, 650 paracord, and lots of it. Nice touch. Couple light sticks. Definitely come in handy, especially if you've had to leave your vehicle behind and you need somebody to be able to see you as they're incoming on the road. We've got a pair of gloves. Nothing special, but better than nothing if you didn't have any gloves. Small roll of duct tape, flashlight, folding saw, which would super come in handy when it's time to get our fire going. We've got a Swiss Army style knife slash multi-tool. It's got all the essentials on it. Actually seems to be pretty decent quality. Comes with a little spade, essentially a miniature shovel, which also comes in handy when you've got nothing else to dig with. And from a communications perspective, we've got a hand crank AM/FM weather band radio that can also be charged by solar, and it comes with a USB cable so that you can charge it off of a power bank or power station if you have one of those at your disposal as well. The last piece of the U-PAK that we're going to cover, because it's the last piece of the U-PAK, includes what is referred to as the upgrade kit. And so they've got an inflatable sleeping pad, nice touch. They've got this little folding stove that comes with some fuel, by the way. And this little stove, you can cook on it utilizing these two metal components, little mini pot and cup that go with it. We've got a plastic, basically mess kit, as well as a, you know, plate slash bowl to eat from. And speaking of food, they've included two 3,600 calorie ration packs. So a whole lot of nutrition and food included in a very small form factor. This stuff is heavy. It's super dense. The last couple things actually I'm going to mention is they did include a pair of goggles. So if you've ever been in a driving snowstorm outside hiking, it's like getting needles in the eye. Kind of nice to have if you're in an urban environment where you've got all sorts of debris flying and whatnot. Good deal for protecting your vision, as well as the fact protecting you from things like, you know, smoke bombs, especially if you run into Mike Sterling and he drops one of his ninja smoke bombs and poof, disappears out of nowhere. It's been known to happen. And also, the guys from Instinct Ready have included a bunch of instructions and survival tips in what I refer to as dead tree format. And when you're in the middle of an SHTF event, probably better to have it in this format than anything else. Well, now that we've had a look at everything that's in the U-PAK, I think it's not hard to agree with the statement that for $399, it would be really hard to source all of the individual components and come in at a price point below that. With that being said, as I mentioned earlier, adding a DIY component to a prefab pack like this does give you some customization. I've got a little short list of things that I would add to this pack if this was my 72-hour pack. First and foremost, I'd add some nutrient survival single meal packs. They break down nicely. You can squeeze them in little nooks and crannies. And yeah, we're biased towards nutrient survival, but we're biased towards them because their products are flat out the best on the market, bar none, when it comes to MREs or NREs, the N standing for nutrition, as they like to say. I would put a better FAK in this with a tourniquet. I would have a solar powered power bank, much like this one here. This thing's a beast. It's only almost, pardon me, 50,000 milliamps of battery power. This could charge your phone up a dozen times. So it's got a lot of power to it. I'd be packing Bic lighters, a ferro rod. I would include a ham radio, and I would actually probably take the radio out, the crank radio that they gave us with the U-PAK, and do a ham radio instead. I love these foldable antennas because they're nice, easy to make compact. And of course, a decent ham radio, you're going to access all the FM stations in addition to, you know, being a ham radio. Let's see what else. Zip ties, maps, an extra knife, a fixed blade knife. This Tops knife is probably my all-time favorite fixed blade knife. So I would have this on me as well. I'd have a notepad, a pencil, and of course personal items like a hat, you know, some comfortable shoes, shirts, pants, meds, glasses, all that kind of stuff. And again, you'll hear us say this over and over again, several pairs of comfortable socks, because if your feet go bad, you're done. That's it. You're DOA. Well, that's the end of today's video. Let us know in the comments below what you've got in your 72-hour bag and what you think we missed in today's video. And if you didn't catch last week's episode of Survival Dispatch News, we had a download, a checklist for a minimalist get home bag, go bag. I'm going to put the link down below again, just in case you missed it. It's got some great ideas in there from Mike Sterling. And most importantly, for those of you who do have 72-hour bags, are they K9 approved?